Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw mean chart and R chart by using Excel. So let's get started. So you are familiar with this problem. Again, this is the Health and Wellness Center in Florida Southern College, and they're interested in to decide whether the patient wait times are under statistical process control. So these are the observations. We do have that, we have 6 different samples, and every sample we do have 8 different observations, right? Those are listed in the columns. That makes our sample size equals to 8, and our number of samples, k, is equal to 6 in this case. Okay, so this is for our convenience. I copied and pasted table 6.1 here so that we can identify A2 values, D3 values, and D4 values for the exam mean R charts. All right, so let's take a closer look at this data. Remember, when we were dealing with this manually, I told you that those X bar, which is the sample average, and Ri values, in this case, the sample ranges, are given. So let's first of all understand how we can calculate the sample averages and sample ranges in Excel. All right, so let's start with the first sample. In the first sample, we do have 8 different observations. And if you would like to calculate the sample average, all you have to do is come over here first, right, in the cell K5 and hit equals to, so that Excel gives the option to write a function, and our sample average function is simply just average. And if you open the parentheses and select this whole 8 observations and then close the parentheses, hit enter, it's that simple, right? It's going to give you sample 1 average. And if you'd like to repeat this for the entire other samples, all you need to do is to locate this dot on the bottom right corner and drag it down, okay? And by this way, you would calculate the sample average for each sample, okay? Remember, we do have also notation X bar bar, which is the grand average, and we use this in constructing our mean chart. Let's go ahead and calculate it too. And if you remember, this grand average value is the average of all sample averages. I know the notation sounds a little bit complicated, but recall that these individual values are the averages of all these values in the sample. And then grand mean is the averages of these sample averages, okay? Let's go ahead and calculate it like this. As you know that we already found this number by hand. It was 8.05. Let's focus on calculating sample ranges. Unfortunately, there is not a range function in Excel that you can easily retrieve to calculate sample ranges. Instead, we do have to find the maximum, like type max. Okay, we do have to find the maximum of each sample, right? This function is going to return us the maximum of each sample minus the minimum of each sample. Again, the selection is not going to change. You are going to select all numbers in this sample, right? If you subtract mean from max and hit enter, you will get your range value for first sample. Again, similar to the sample averages, if you focus on this bottom right dot and then just drag it down, it's going to do the same operation for other samples. And we have to calculate range averages to be used in the formulations to construct mean chart and R chart. So let's go ahead and calculate it here. And this is simply going to be average of all the ranges that we just calculated. All right, it's that simple. In Excel, remember by hand, we had to spend too much time calculating X bar bar and R bar. All right, so let's go to the mean chart. In the mean chart, I listed out the steps from your formula sheet. Remember, in the first step, when we are dealing with the mean chart, we had to calculate the mean of each sample. Well, guess what? We already calculated them right here. Step 2, find the mu and sigma of the population. If those are not known, calculate grand mean. We already calculated the grand mean as well. Okay. In step 3, it says that the sigma of the population is unknown. If it is unknown, go to step 5. Yes, we don't know the population standard deviation. Therefore, we have to jump into step 5. And step 5, part A tells us that calculate the mean or average of the ranges. R bar, we already did that, right? R bar is right here. And then part B tells us that calculate the upper and lower control limits for the mean chart using A2 values from table 6.1. Again, A2 value is 0.373. That's because our sample size is equal to 8, right? If it is 8, and then I look up my A2 value, it is 0.373. All right. So I'm going to be using it here, right? I just listed them here. And my upper control limit in this time is going to be X bar bar. X bar bar is located here, plus my A2, it's right here, right? And times R bar right over here. Well, that is just my upper control limit, and my lower control limit is equal to the same thing, simply my grand mean minus, this time, my A2 value times my R bar, right? So these are my upper control limits and lower control limits. The thing here is that these are the same for all of my samples. So I'm not going to repeat the calculations here. Instead, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select the entire selection, and I'm using a Mac, and I'm going to hit Command and T to make these selections fixed, okay? If you're using a PC, after you select the entire function, hit F4. It should do the same thing. And what it does is it adds these $signs to keep selections fixed in Excel. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing for my LCL, and I'm going to hit Command T after I select the entire cell. And what I'm going to do now, I will just drag this whole thing down. You will see that the numbers are just going to be the same for each sample. Okay. All right. So I copied my sample averages here on this column so that they can be it can be listed adjacent to upper control limit and lower control limit to draw my chart. As you do these calculations by yourself, I highly recommend that you do these calculations by yourself, these iterations. The mean chart is going to populate, okay? So the conclusion that we had with the mean chart was to say that looks like it is under statistical process control. No point is above my upper control limit and below my lower control limit. The central line is, you can also draw central line, but you don't have to, because we don't really use central line to decide whether we do have an outlier or not. Let's do the same operation for R chart. So in the R chart, already we do have the steps listed out. We are done with step 1 and step 2. Step 1 is basically calculating the range for each sample. We already did that. Step 2 is calculate the average of the ranges. We already did that too. And step 3 is calculate the center line and the upper and lower control limit. Center line is simply my R bar, right? My upper control limit is R bar times D4. Let's do that. So it is R bar right here times my D4. D4 value are again from table 6.1. And then D3 value is simply from table 6.1 as well. So we use it to calculate my lower control limit. So my lower control limit is R bar times D3. It's listed here. Okay. All right. Again, I would like to select these selections that I just found. I just used to find my upper control limit and lower control limit, and keep these selections fixed, right? What I did is I selected the entire formula, and I hit Command and T. I'm using a Mac. If you're using a PC, you should hit F4 to add these $signs. The reason I am adding them is because I would like to drag down these formulas Since lower control limit and upper control limit value is same for every sample, I don't want these numbers to change, okay? And if you carefully look at the R chart, it looks very similar to what we had by using manual calculations. You see that there's a negative trend here. For sure, there's something going on. In addition, our first point and the last point are beyond our upper control limit and our lower control limit respectively. Therefore, we should stop the process and say, hey, there must be something going on. In real life, these R charts and X charts are being populated in real time. So if you are the machine operator or the manager, for example, these numbers are popping up into your on your screen so that you can monitor the change in the status real time to say, hey, stop now, or just go ahead and then stop producing whatever you're doing, right? So it is a really important concept when it comes to monitoring variation in your operations. So therefore, we really need to understand the nitty-gritty that we have to use to construct these charts. Okay, so that will be the end of my videos for chapter 6. If you have any questions, please let me know.